Hello. How you doing tonight, Governor?
Good.
Good. Listen, I'm just a father of 4 children. Bear with me for one. Sure. This is kind of emotional. On these laws that you pass. Excuse me. I just want some clarification. Sure. On how you're able to present these laws to get them passed through without the citizens voting and having their say on these laws. If you could elaborate a little bit for me on that.
Sure.
It just seems like I get one of these in my town when stuff comes up on the agenda.
Yeah.
I show up at the meeting, I listen to people's ideas and thoughts or whatever the issues are on the referendum.
Sure.
And then we have a vote.
Right.
Either it passes or it doesn't pass. I understand, I'm not a political person,
Yeah.
so I don't follow, I'm not really understanding the process that you have to go through as
Sure.
being our, so to speak, commander-in-chief.
So to speak.
All right, so if you could just
Sure.
help me out with some of these issues.
I will.
How these laws get passed,
Sure.
because first off, I'm starting to relax a little bit here now.
That could have been.
That'd be bad. But I just want to apologize because all these chairs should be filled.
Yeah.
And you should have more questions than you should be able to handle in 1 hour. That being said, if you could just
Sure.
elaborate a little bit on that for me.
Yep. So let me start, and I'll try to do it because people who work for me always tell me that I talk too long. So I'll try to keep it short. Their legislation gets passed in different ways, and quite frankly, I didn't. Let me just put this back on silent. There we go. This is not the path that I chose, right? This is the legislature drafted this bill. Now, I put out 5 weeks before, 6 weeks before, a 5-point, what I call common sense approach to gun safety. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. Actually, a lot of people liked it, and some people didn't like it. But that's not what the legislature agreed on. They agreed on their own bill, which they drafted. They had a series of bipartisan hearings that led to some recommendations and no agreement on other recommendations. They then had a round of discussions between the Republican leaders and the Democratic leaders. I was not in the room. And they drafted a bill. And they brought that bill to the legislature, and the legislature voted on that bill, and they approved that bill. Now, I don't agree with everything in the bill, but I agreed to sign it because I guess I agreed with it more than I disagreed with it. And that's how that becomes law. Different laws get passed in different ways. There's not one set of rules. The legislature, in point of fact, also makes its own rules. But this is not my legislation. It was done on a bipartisan basis. It had Republican and Democrat support, and it had pretty significant support of Republicans and Democrats at the legislature. But I wasn't in the room when this particular bill was negotiated.
Okay. That's fine for that. But it was, let me just say, there's a lot of emotion in this state right now with the tragedies that happen. And if the people in this state could just understand people, like this lady with the nursing thing and the psychological aspect of everything.
Yep.
Maybe if there wasn't so much pressure on people as far as taxes go, and I'm sure your staff, everybody in this room pays taxes. And they pay tax walking through the door, walking out the door. Everywhere you go, everything you do, it's all about tax money. And how can we not have a balanced budget if we have this revenue coming into the state on a daily basis, on an hourly basis? How can this state be in the situation that it's in?
Well, you know, listen, I've only had this job for a couple of years. We had 22 straight years before I became governor of net job loss. That's what we did. We didn't make the kinds of investments that other states made. I think we had a lot of sloppy budgets. We did things that we shouldn't have done. We also didn't pay our bills. And in not paying our bills, we convinced ourselves that we had more money to spend. When we didn't have any more money to spend, it was money that should have gone towards paying towards our bills. So I've done some things to change that. We put in, for the first time in the state of Connecticut, generally accepted accounting principle, something called GAAP, so that we actually live by the rules that we require the mayor, the city council, and the board of education to report under. Prior to my becoming governor, that was not the law of Connecticut. Connecticut required them to do it, and then we didn't do it ourselves. Those days are over. When I became governor, we had a pension plan that was 42% funded, the worst funded pension plan in the United States. I negotiated with our employees to save $21.5 billion over a 20-year period of time. So better than an average of $1 billion a year as a result of that package. Now some people should say it should be more, and let me assure you some people thought it should be less. But the reality is I negotiated a package that's saving us $21.5 billion. I also then committed to properly funding that pension because no one had done it before. And they kept spending the money that they thought they were savings by not properly funding it. By properly funding it on an expedited basis, we will save another $5.8 billion. You put those two numbers together, they're pretty significant. It's a start. I've only been governor for a short period of time. Let me assure you, this year we will end in balance. Okay?
And that is, what is your time frame on that?
My time frame is June 30th is the end of the fiscal year. The end of the reporting period is sometime in August. Okay?
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And, you did a great job. Once you got over that nervous thing, you did pretty well. I just want to go on record.
I'll be back again.
All right. Thank you. I'll be back again. This is 3 years in a row.